So, go ahead. Any questions? We hope you have some questions. Okay, yes. I will. Okay.
Hi, perhaps a bit too controversial for a starting question, but I'll go for it anyway. Is there discussion or concern about how heavily capitalized urban farms, what the distributional consequences are for labor-intensive rural farms necessary for poverty alleviation in the global south? I mention this because you spoke briefly about the global south.
Or this is a classical trick. I would throw it away, throw it back to you, because we say what we define is not how you should do it, but you have to look at the local conditions and some kind of prerequisites. So that are the minimum kind of requirements that we define for you. But within that, you can go for food that is accessible for low-income people or not. You can go for healthy food or not. You can go for whatever. You can just say, well, it's sheltered food that saves food production from extreme weather events. So it's a very minimum definition. So depends on what the goals that you attach to your project makes you more or less vulnerable for the kind of criticism that you raise, I would say. So it would be a rather extreme point of view if you say, well, there can never be any form of urban food growing because there are so many already underway. And they have many different shapes and forms. They're even run by low-income people. They are kind of self-organized. They are bottom-up network. They are capitalist, top-down company design. So everything is there.
Maybe give an example, because in the last edition jury, we had Nona, and she's running an urban farm in Jackson Hole. Extreme weather conditions, but she actually started it because of her brother, who is heavily handicapped. So actually this entire project is about food production, but it's also about empowering handicapped people and giving them employment, but also like a very good working place and a network. So maybe inspiring example.
Yeah, the other example was a container that goes to neighborhoods that are kind of low-income people, and they just can move the food-producing container to different places. So that was a low-access example. So there are many ideas around, but just for you to go shopping and discussing, and then selecting, and then designing. And Fru said it was a difficult process to get all people, all the.
I think it definitely was, and I can really feel like your question, or we struggled a lot on the justice approach of the greenhouse. So for us, I think the main question was gentrification. So how will this greenhouse, that was a prison before, will not gentrify an already gentrified neighborhood further? How will we produce food that is accessible by having in mind that the general or the average price of food should not decrease further? So these questions, and yeah, I can agree with Kert a lot. So with the team, you kind of make these decisions after each other, trying to navigate on like what's ethically right for the team. And then you come up with different designs at the end.
Any other questions? Yes. Give it a go.
Yeah, I have a question about the final product. What will the final product look like delivered by the team in this challenge?
But basically, it's a report. That's your final product. But it's packed with drawings, with architectural drawings, elevations, plans, with technical drawings of your food system, with analyze, with calculations and analysis of your circularity, flows, also with a description about your social system, calculations of your incomes and expenditures. And we also ask this year that every team comes up to the finals with a, let's say, with a model of a greenhouse. So really a physical 3D model that everybody can walk around and look how it's going to look like.
And you will also have a market stand at the finals, if you reach the finals, obviously, in which you can show other parts of your design that you have maybe constructed already. That market stand is also a way to show what you've done. You can show that to the jury members to make your concept more lively and not just that paperwork and the 3D model. But again, that's up to the team, what they would like to highlight and show to the audience as well as to the jury.
Just turn taking. And you just, this time we had an in-between step that you present your preliminary ideas and first design ideas on the urban greenhouse to practitioners and scientists halfway the process. And then you get kind of feedback to say, well, these are the weaker parts and these is real strong parts of your design. So for the next half year, you can just try to specialize and deepen and make that better. The things that you're strong at should be kind of commented in terms of, okay, is it innovative enough? Is it kind of really front-running science and design? And I think, I hope by doing that, teams are halfway not so confused that they have to take on other members to have another discussion, but that you really can have first steps in first ideas and then formulate it and present it and then get feedback and comments and then make the final design in a way that you're really convinced that it's the best way to do.
And we should not forget that you need to pitch to the jury. So that's also your product. Any more questions? Yes. Go ahead.
So what about like time commitment for this?
Okay, this question we get a lot. And I made some calculations. It's on our website. I actually explain it quite in detail. Because it really varies. So there is always a core team in a team, let's say, the people who do the most. So I think, Fruzi, you were part of the core team. So how many hours per week did you spend on challenge?
Don't tell them.
A lot. I spent roughly 15 hours a week on the challenge next to the studies, which I don't recommend. Like, looking back at it, it was just too much. Some of our teammates did the same time commitment and took a part of their courses off. So, for example, they only took the afternoon or the morning classes, or some of them even took a period off. But maybe that problem is solved with having the challenge as an actual course.
Yeah, that definitely helps. I think my calculation is around 8 hours per person throughout the entire challenge. And I also say there are moments where you are much more busy. So I would say really full time and some more quiet moments. And of course, the busy moments are around the milestones and the finals and the site visit. And yeah, I think it's always good to say, okay, well, there is a minimum, there is a maximum. Don't overspend the hours. Yeah. Try to work efficiently. Very hard to say, actually. Yeah.
Okay. If you have a good plan, you don't need to spend 15 hours on the challenge.
But you get your own location within the campus, so then you come there together with the team, you spend hours there, and when Rio and me, we were preparing the first edition, we were visiting Delft University, Twente University and others to see what the formula for the Students' Challenge was like. And sometimes there were really kind of entrepreneurial teams that spent 24 hours a day for more than a year without any payment. So that was in Delft, because they want to win the solar challenge race. Maybe if you've seen it on television. So there were teams of 25 core members and then 60 other members that they could consult. They were highly professional. It took them 10 years to develop this idea. And we said, well, Wageningen Challenge is not like that, but it's also not just another course. It's not just, you know, a bit extra ECTS. It's you really, you are a team that has to be, well, you call it divisions, or functions, or let's say task forces within the team. You have people responsible for kind of acquisition and for media and for the technology, for the food part. So you really need specialists that are responsible for their own kind of dossier. So don't underestimate it. It needs especially communication. So I think when we were in Twente, these people told us the A performance comes with having an A team in terms of membership and internal organization. If you have a good team, you have a good result. But it takes time.
And to add to that, this academic year is the first time that we have a course which is called Student Challenges. It's part of the vrije ruimte. How do you say that in English? Free space of your program, 12 ECTS. From experience, we can say that everybody that participated spent more than 12 ECTS, but it is a way to create time and sufficient attention for participation in the challenge.
So we have an honors program at the university, so the students who want to do some extra. We have startups, people who want to kind of do something extra and start to make money with it. And then we have the Students' Challenge. And there are three kind of innovative forms of engaging with education.
More questions? Yes, 2 questions over there. Give it a go. Yes.
I was just wondering, because you talked about the last greenhouse in the past, like that it used to be, like, is it still existing, or what happened to the greenhouse in Amsterdam?
Yes.
Oh, our greenhouse was a prison before. It's called the Belmer Bias. And the prison was not used anymore for, what happened to our concept?
Yes.
So at the beginning, when we won the challenge, after that we were consultants, or we were in consultation with the developer company, which is called OMA Real Estate. And we gave 2 presentations there, or with them, and then not much after that. So we are still in touch, or we still have the contact of these people, but our design as it was not implemented. But I think some ideas were taken from it. So I think mostly this, like, social inclusion, asking the neighborhood, and co-creation, like, I think that part was influential for their views.
We really learned from that lesson, because we were a little bit also disappointed about what happened with the results of the challenge. So this time we really worked closely with the real estate developer in the area in China, and we really hope that there will be more coming out of it. So I think you should not take it as a starting point.
Sometimes we are afraid there's too much coming out of it, because they wanted to be the first entitled to really build the design that our students would deliver. And then we run into all kind of juridical issues. So who's owning this idea? Is it a patent, or is it something else? So now we spent some really considerable time in formulating who's entitled to do something with the end results of the winning team. So that's complicated, but the idea is that the team themselves, they are responsible for doing the negotiations with whatever commercial partner shows up, and that the ones who is financing our challenge at the moment is the first in row to talk to the teams. That's a little bit the formula that we...
And I can add to that, I've been the one discussing with the real estate developer about what rights they have to the results of the challenge. As Gert said, they wanted everything, but we said, no, these students that participate, they spend so much time. It's their design, it's their technical innovation. So the IP remains with the team. The developer has the first right to start a negotiation with the teams within 4 weeks after the finals. It's up to the teams whether they want to accept the offer that developer makes or negotiate another deal. So yeah, they have serious intentions, but you go for innovation, and some part of that innovation needs to be tested further. So it's also a bit of a tension between implementation and innovation. So let's see what comes out of it. And for sure, I mean, there's a lot of interest from this developer to see what you all will come up with, and a serious intention to engage with the teams also after the challenge.
And we're making progress because the first edition was a bit disappointing in terms of, well, commercial people not being interested, seemingly. Now, when we were doing our field trip to China, people were eager to work with us. And they were actually competing for being in the position to finance the challenge. So we hope if we do the challenge next round that people are aware that they can even go that far to promise to really build the design, something like that. So, but it needs time for people to see what is the potential of the Urban Greenhouse Challenge.
Just one question more to that. And for the prison, was it like was it an open project for building a greenhouse there, or was it just one suggestion of many possibilities to use that space as a greenhouse, or was it ought to be a greenhouse?
Well, when we started with the challenge, there was actually a plan already for that building, and I think that was the biggest problem. That they already had an idea. There was an element of food production, but that was much more. They call it a urban vertical park. So they really wanted to have a lot of entertainment and experience elements and a little bit of food production. So I think that's yeah. There is a question over there.
Yeah, they're wondering, how do they find a team? Because in Wageningen it's kind of easy maybe, but how do you find a team when you're alone somewhere else? And also, could they consider this as a course as well, or is that impossible for them because they're on another university?
Depends. I think if they are if they are studying at one of the Dutch universities, I understand that there is a kind of collaboration, and you can take a course in any university, any other Dutch university, and the points will count for your study points. But I don't know what is the arrangement with international universities, so that's something people will really need to check themselves. That's the answer to the first question. When it comes to searching for a team, I have 2 tips. So first of all, we will very soon have an online tool. And with this online tool, you can, when you are registered to the challenge as a participant, even if you decide not to continue, but you registered on the website, then you can see the list of existing teams, and then you can see which of those teams are still looking for team members, and you can approach them, I think, per email, or maybe there's even a telephone number. So you can contact them and ask, well, I have this expertise, would you like to have me as a team member? But my second tip is, I think it works much better when you form your own team. So I would not rely too much on joining the teams, especially if there are teams, like if you are located in one place of the world and your team is in a completely different place. We had one team like this last year, and they all the time were really complaining about the communication, the time zones, the distance. That makes it really difficult. And I think what worked with your team is you were really good friends. And we also saw it with a Techno-Titlan team. They still kind of are close. Yeah, they are still close with each other. They still work together. So I think this element of really connection is more important than, than just having a team. So I would suggest go and try to form your team and take a lead in that one. Okay, any other questions? No? There's a question here.
So Thank you very much for the presentation. I think it's a very clear presentation and also a very great experience and opportunity to learn as well. I had a question regarding the process in itself. So you mentioned that there's going to be a preliminary phase. So the final product that you answered to the question before, is it going to be the same for the preliminary outcomes, let's say? And the second question was, is there going to be a matchmaking session again? So or maybe also for the people who are not really eager of online matching. Yeah. I think it's better to just have a feeling and see each other face to face.
Yeah, there will be, well, I mentioned that there will be kickoff meeting on 15th of October, and we think that it's also a great moment to do matchmaking. So we hope everybody who is interested in challenge already joined, doesn't have a team, will come there, and then you will get to know each other, and that's the best, I think, best matchmaking moment, since we also expect the people from outside Wageningen and maybe outside the Netherlands. But of course, for the teams who are located in Brazil or US, that's impossible to join. So that has to be solved differently. So that was the first question. And regarding the process and the first milestone and the second, in principle, the first milestone is like a preliminary, so your first ideas. You make an analysis of what you know, of all the information. You make your first program, what this urban greenhouse is going to be about. So like your first choices, what Gert was emphasizing, that you need to make some choices. You make your first designs, then you go to China, you present it to the coaches, you get their feedback, and then you deepen your design. So maybe you want to change some things, maybe you got confirmation and you build on what you have already heard, well, whatever. But in principle, they overlap. Well, but yes, it's more like definitely the parts of the first milestone are also included in the report, but in the report you need to provide a detailed design, which is not required for the first milestone.
First part is about convincing. So it's what makes it attractive and what is new. And we had kind of very short 3 minutes, 5 minutes videos, clips in the previous challenge. And that was really nice because you have a first impression, okay, this team is going for this. No, but I mean just to say well, that the function of it is not to fill in all the technical details already, but just to convince, to show your choices. Can I do this? Like that. Sorry.
So if someone has already a profile in the student challenges, because I was in a team last year at the Rethink Protein Challenge, can I still have my account and just enter this? Okay, thank you. Okay, so they're not connected with each other.
Last questions? Okay.
Because then I want to do something. I can go to throw it to you, and just you answer my question. What is needed for you to take part on the challenge? Oh, it was meant for you. Oh, sorry. Yeah. What should happen for you before you say, "Wow, this is interesting"?
Well, I have to find some time. And maybe look for some information about the city, if it is interesting to, well, an idea for.
Chinese colleagues told me there are nice beaches around. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. That's kind of, so can I throw it one more time? Both of you.
Yeah. Oh, I have to. Yeah, I have to find some time as well. It's the main important thing.
Yeah.
I need to figure out how to, study a little bit the site because I think it's very important.
Yeah.
Other things, I don't know. I'm really afraid about all the technical aspect that we have to face, later on. I mean, after the first selection, if we pass it, of course. And other things, I don't know. I mean, university will help us.
Yeah.
So
okay. Good. No, it's just the kind of things that I want to hear more about. Yes.
Don't need to be very worried about the information about the site. We already have a quite thick package of information about the site. Of course, when you go to China, you will get some more information. But, well, we definitely provide you with some starting points. Yeah. And the technical details, check on website what exactly is required. Maybe you get less scared.
My concern is about like how to organize the group, like how to find the member that from different background. For us now, we have maybe we have plant sciences and landscaping design, but we're still looking for the engineering or social background or something. Also, I know that maybe we need some sponsors. I don't know that.
Yeah, so I can like tell what my experience was with finding a team, because for us it really worked when we just started to talk about what we're doing to people that we already knew or were friends with. So used our own network to like get to know more people, maybe outside of our network, and engage those who were not interested yet. So this is how we actually grew our team from 8 to 16 people, that we included most of our friends in it. And it was very good for the communication, and then like we knew how to work with each other already. And for the sponsorship, for us, this 10,000 euro knowledge voucher / cash was very, very helpful. And this year you're offering it also to 2 teams, right?
I cannot confirm that it's going to be the same amount. So the amount is still unknown, but we have a starting budget. Yeah.
But we'll also learn if you go with 5 landscape people and or 10 food people together, that doesn't work. So it is really interdisciplinary, and you should try to cover all those fields that you want to score. So I think that's maybe better to not go to the people in the same study program, but to go to the student or association friends or something like that. So because you need this interdisciplinary composition, that's important. Yeah, that's true. So are we done, or should I throw it one more time?
I think it's good if we finish here. We are still here for a couple of minutes. You can ask us questions that you would like in person. You can get to know each other. And, well, I would suggest register and look for a team and see what happens and give it a go.
Thank you for joining us. Yeah.
It cannot replace ACT. You still need to do ACT. It's worth as many points as ACT, but it's not possible to replace it. Yeah. Oh, thanks a lot. Have a good evening. And we hope to see you again.